Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. So, we have a question right here. It says, how can I be more open, or what are things I can do to receive what my guides are trying to tell me? This is a very loaded question, I'll be honest with you. There are a number of things that we can all do to be open much better for our guides to hear us out and help us and just to receive what your guides are trying to tell you. Now go ahead and I will say and make it clear that your guides are always communicating with you through numbers, through nature, through the vibe that you feel in a space. Our guides are constantly connecting to us and trying to give us messages. Another thing is, I think some people think that their guides are always telling them exactly what to do. Our guides really are just that, guides. It's just like a coach. Your coach is going to tell you the route, but the coach cannot tell you exactly what to do because you never know what the other team is going to do, you know? You never know what the outer forces are going to do. You never know how you're going to take and react to what the outer forces are doing. So, what ends up happening is we are beating ourselves up for feeling like we took the wrong path, or beating ourselves up for feeling like we should have made a better decision. And, your guides are not that harsh. Your guides are there to help you pick things back up or to help you leave some things behind. So, I think it's really beautiful that this question was asked because there is no perfect way of doing things. There isn't. There's very clear ways that are going to be easier, and there's very clear ways that are going to be harder. And sometimes we unfortunately pick the harder route. I will say sometimes the harder route gets us there just as the smoother and the cleaner route would. So there's a blessing. There's a blessing in each route that you're taking, but you're taking the route, and you should be very proud of yourself. Now, let's get back to the simpler version of the question, which was, how can you be more open to receiving messages from your guide? Well, number one is making sure your head is not too cluttered. The less your head and your heart is cluttered, the easier it is for you to hear very clear and direct messages. This is why a lot of us like to meditate, because it is a way of learning to control and quiet your mind. Now, I've talked to you all a lot about how meditation is not a simple close your eyes and, nothing's in your head. That's not what's going to happen when you're first meditating. When you're first meditating, there's going to be some things that come up. Sometimes it's going to look not too pretty. Sometimes it's going to look hideous. Sometimes it's going to look scary. But you know what? It's a wonderful thing that you're facing it and that you're willing to face it, so much so that if it's something you don't want anymore, you can release it. So, what does meditation look like the first few times? Like I said, scary and just unusual overall. Even if it's not scary, it's still going to be unusual and unfamiliar for you and a little more quiet or louder than what you're used to. Me personally, my first time effectively meditating was when I was going through a guided meditation through someone who was actually with me. And that was a big help because I was able to really focus and be mindful about what I was doing and even intentional. I set my space up. I made sure that I could hear the person. The music was set. It was very mindful, very intentional. Mindful and intentional are a lot of the times one and the same. So I set aside the time for it. So that's definitely something you want to do for meditation. Set aside the time and the intention of what you're trying to do. My first time effectively meditating was to open up my third eye, and it was very effective because my intention was very powerful, and I set the course for that. So if you want your guides to communicate to you more effectively, or you want to hear them better, you want to set aside time for that. You want to create a space that is at the frequency of receiving a message. If you are looking for a message and you're at a concert or something and you haven't yet learned to discern when your guides are speaking to you, when your fears are speaking to you, when your anxieties are speaking to you, when your hopes and desires are speaking to you. That's something that you will have to learn yourself. I personally, like I said, recommend mindfulness and meditation being an easier way for you to do it, or a accessible way for you to do it. Another way is to intend when you are about to go to bed that your guides speak to you in your dreams, because your subconscious is open and you are more susceptible to messages at that time. So the first one being mindfulness and meditation, the second one being your dreams, setting intention for your dreams. Please come speak to me during my dreams, give me the message, make sure it's clear. If I do not receive the message, give me the same dream repeatedly so that I can decode it or go to somebody who can. And that's something that I also like to do. Another way is to use divination. You can use tools like oracle cards and tarot cards to speak to your guides, or pendulums. You can use these tools to speak effectively to your guides. Hey guide, should I do this, or is this healthy for me? Is my body reacting negatively to this? Is that why this is happening? You can use the pendulum for that. You can also use cards for that. If you don't know how to use divination tools, I strongly urge you to do past readings, like about your past, so that you can learn to see, oh, this is accurate. Oh, this is how you read this card. You don't necessarily have to get a book that tells you how to read tarot. You really want to connect to that intuitive energy that you have. And it is going to take quieting your mind, but not in the way that you think. It's more so quieting the outer stuff and getting more into your mind. It comes off as quieting your mind, but it's really just being present with yourself and kind of putting yourself in this little bubble and saying, okay, I'm focusing here on what's going on in my mind, and then I'm going to learn to differentiate the difference between my fears, my inner voice, and my guide speaking to me, and God speaking to me, divine, all of that. You're learning the different voices in your head, and you're becoming familiar with the different versions that you are, because we are all different versions of ourselves. Some of us are our inner child most of the day. Some of us are our fears most of the day and our anxieties most of the day. And we kind of have to pick that out and say, well, where do I want to focus my energy, and how do I get back to that frequency that I'm trying to get on? So if you're trying to reach more of your inner child, more fun and stuff, you want to learn what voice is that, and you want to connect to that. So when you are trying to connect to your guides, I strongly urge you to set that intention and make it very clear that you want to speak to your guides. And it may not come off easy as first. It's going to take practice, because the thing is, your guides are already communicating to you. You just haven't learned proper discernment. You haven't learned to differentiate the different voices in your soul, in your heart, in your mind. So once you start to connect more to those voices in your head, you can automatically tell, oh, that's my anxiety, that's my fear. Oh, that's my intuition. Oh, that's my guides. My husband asked me a few days ago, he said, how do you know when a spirit is speaking to you? And I said, it's funny you asked. I never really thought much about it, but I do know that I have my own thoughts when the spirit is speaking to me. So it's almost like multiple voices that I'm hearing, because I hear it through my mind or through like my spirit. I hear the voice of a spirit, and I still have my own thoughts in my head reacting to what they're saying. So I'm like, oh, this puts it into perspective that I know it's not me, because I'm reacting to something and I'm responding actively in that moment to what my guide is telling me or what a spirit is telling me. So that is another way to kind of differentiate between the different voices in your head. And I found that really just interesting. He's like, how do you know you're not speaking to yourself? Well, honestly, sometimes I'm like, am I going crazy? But then I realized they also send me signs. I'll smell things, and then someone else might smell the same thing, and I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. Because sometimes even I, as a psychic medium, and a highly intuitive, I question the things that I hear. I'm saying, huh, is that real? Is that happening? Because there's no way. Like, and I've been like this since a very young age. I mean, I've had dreams of things happening before they happen or while they were happening, but in another state or a different country. And then I get confirmation that it did happen. And I'm like, maybe I do have a gift. And after, 7, 8 years of practicing this intentionally, I'm still like, maybe I do have a gift. So it's okay if you find yourself saying, is this real? It's okay. It's normal because it's so magical for us to have these innate abilities, innate gifts when society doesn't highlight them a lot of the time, especially depending on where you live. Your family might be like, oh, that's demonic, or you're getting into stuff you shouldn't be getting into. And it comes off as, well, let me disconnect from that side. And it's very unfortunate when that happens because you become less and less a part of yourself. You become less and less intuitive. You become less and less connected to source when you turn that part of you off. So I urge you and I ask you to connect more to yourself. And through connecting to yourself, you connect to your guides. Okay, if you get what I'm saying. The more you learn about yourself, the easier it will be to say, oh, source is speaking to me. The divine is speaking to me. That is the divine. And another thing, these messages, even if we can't hear them clearly in our head, like we can't hear them say, go that direction, try that out, that's a lot easier for you. Even if we can't hear that exactly, they're going to send us signs. And I know that it's frustrating seeing numbers because you don't know if they're saying a yes or no. And this is where it comes in that you really have to be intentional, sit there in your space and say, I want a clear message. Is this a yes or a no? Sometimes they will say it's up to you, but this is the easier way. And this is the more challenging way. And it's up to you regardless. One thing about your guides is they will always leave it up to you. They are not going to force your hand, but they will hold your hand through it. That's a better way of putting it because some people think that they're disappointing their guides or their guides are pissed off with them. That's usually not the case. I mean, I've rarely ever seen that. I've seen it in small cases where I'm like, okay, they seem like they've been saying this a lot. And it's not that they're frustrated, it's just that they hate seeing you frustrated. So they're trying to help you harder than they would as usual. So I would never say that your guys are frustrated with you. They just work harder at certain times when they see that you're frustrated or that you can't hear them. And I mean, that makes sense, you know? They're just working harder so that they can support you because that is pretty much their purpose. And our guides love us so unconditionally that it's even more unconditionally than we can love each other right now in who we are in our flesh. And we think that our guides are putting us through tragedies and putting us through that's not who source is. That's not our guides. They're not necessarily putting us through difficult stuff. It's just sometimes the paths that we're taking are more difficult than the other ones. It's just how life happens to be. Your guides are not going to say, throw this super hard and challenging, difficult thing at them. They're not saying that. They're not doing that on purpose. However, they do know and they are aware that whichever route you take, you will learn valuable lessons and the lessons that you are meant to learn in your life. And you will take those lessons with you. They have so much to teach us. And I will say the more you, like I said earlier, connect to yourself, the easier it is for you to be able to discern the messages they have for you. I do hope that this helped you all if you all had the same question. And just to recap, the question was, how can I be more open? And what are things I can do to receive what my guides are trying to tell me? So, like I said, one, being mindfulness and meditation, and two, setting the intentions, and then three, being setting the intentions that you have a dream, and also four, being using divination tools such as tarot cards, pendulums, oracle cards, runes, all of that. There's a lot of different ways for us to do that. If this helped you, make sure you go ahead and share it with anyone you think that it might help. Make sure you also subscribe, like, and you push the bell for post notifications. And those of you who are listening to this on Spotify, Apple Music, or in podcast form, I also hope that you rate and review the podcast. Thank you. I love you so much, and have a blessed day. Breathe easy.